James Frederick, director of the James Gallery. So what was the start here in the West End?
The start was actually in Dormont.
Okay.
We were in Dormont for 28 years. 10 years ago, found what we thought was a really great opportunity here in the city in the West End. Fabulous property that we were the only, Gail and I, my partner, were the only two that saw what we envisioned what we created. Loved being here. We were kind of the catalyst, I think, to bring in a few new businesses, actually took a chance in the West End like we did. And now we have a little bit of a design community down here.
Well, I think to stay in the business 38 years, first of all, is very impressive. But
or crazy. So
perhaps, but you're still here. That's what's insane as you may be. You're still here. But what do you feel? And by all means, my show. Feel free to toot your own horn here. What do you feel really has been the key to that success?
We learned to look to larger projects. So here in Pittsburgh, we were fortunate enough to work on Children's Hospital and work on Consol Energy Center and PNC Park. And that was our first experience working in the sport venue arena. We worked with a famous architect, HOK, which is now Populous, and they do stadiums all over the world. Through that experience, that opened doors for us to do projects we did the ballpark for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Wow.
We worked in Washington, D.C. with the Washington Redskins.
And all from here?
All from here.
So those are massive, massive projects.
They are.
How do you even begin to approach something like that?
I think we were brought on to capture a spirit, for instance, in Consol Energy Center. We were asked to find a way to portray through the artwork the energy in the sport. So when we discovered early on that hockey is a game of athletes sometimes that don't look like they're at all in motion. They're in a glide on a skate. So they're not really moving, but they're moving fast. So we had to portray that in the art. We blurred the backgrounds, we did tricks to photography that would project that kind of motion and that energy. We worked with the committee, we presented ideas, we selected the artists, we managed those artists. We were fortunate enough actually to be part of the Mario statue in front of the arena.
So
yeah, that was...
to all of our listeners out there, when you see Mario at the Consol, you've got Mr. Frederick to thank for.
Yeah, exactly.
So come by James Gallery. You got any more of those statues in the back? Now for something like Children's Hospital, which completely different energy than Consol, or maybe not, I don't know. But was your approach with that project any different? How did you
well, the same
get
kind
the ball
of
rolling
problems
there?
exist. You have to determine who your audience is. In children's, I would have thought the audience I was playing to would have only been a child, and that is really far from the truth. Our audience were children of all ages, including grandparents. So we had to play to people that were visiting, and our job was to distract from a moment of stress. And it's been really a rewarding moment when we get a letter from somebody saying that you helped me so much in this moment of really big trouble.
So you really consider every aspect of it. And I think, when you walk through these places, a lot of folks don't realize everything that really goes into that.
Yeah, and that's how we would love to work on another children's hospital elsewhere. We have learned you wouldn't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel.
Not only, are you taking on huge projects like this, but for individuals as well. If somebody comes to you and is, say, redoing their home or is having an apartment developed, it's kind of, if I understand correctly, the same process almost to develop the art scheme for that individual as you would for the organization.
Fortunately for us, Pittsburgh right now, there is an emerging urban loft resident.
That's big. All these old factories that they're redoing, it's fantastic.
Great space. And likewise, we have clients that are discriminating enough that want unique, beautiful work in their homes. I love objects, so when I find things that are unique, My eye gravitates to them. I look for things that I haven't seen before. These sarcophagus masks.
Wow.
In our framing business, we've seen lots of unique items that people want to display.
Oh yeah.
So we take items like that and find a way to keep them safe in cases. And I found someone actually walked in the gallery with a card of Andrew Carnegie, and his address was Skibo, and it was
Andrew Carnegie's business card. Now, would you consider your gallery primarily contemporary?
We love to work with artists that are still working. Primarily, we love the idea that we get to know the artists. You introduced us to a few artists a number of years ago that we've maintained great relationships with, and have enjoyed those relationships. And I think I can easily authenticate the fact that this is actually a Chuck Olson or a Paul Chanowski or an artist that we work with every day.
What is it about their actual work that might attract you to an artist?
The piece that I look at longer, I think I tend to feel that I will like it longer too. So I tend to like things that I don't think are trendy, for instance. I tend to like things that I think will have longevity and that are, can stand on their own and not fall out of grace because they're too common.
Sure. And on that note, you mentioned Paul Chanowski, and this is a man who creates artwork by essentially burning a canvas.
Actually, it's paper.
It's paper.
It's even worse. I mean, he burns paper, and so
the product is beautiful.
It's almost photographic.
Yes, yes.
Our most recognizable are city scenes or urban scenes with headlights coming towards you, and you can make out the city. And he's done a number of Pittsburgh that are fantastic.
So as somebody who was in the mode of interpreting cityscapes in their artwork, what were his thoughts on Pittsburgh?
Photogenic. I mean, I think right away he found that Pittsburgh was a great subject. Icons that were like the fountain, and aren't we so lucky to have it back? That tells you that you're on the point of Pittsburgh when you see it. So his work, the PPG building, just the architecture and the way, even as lit at night, tells you right away that you're in the bridges.
Yep.
The ballparks. There's so many icons now that can identify our city. Our city's really come a long way in the last 20 years.
Yeah, in the last 10, 5 even.
So
it's a good place to be, and I think you've done a lot of great things for this city. I think it's glad to have you here. Leave them wanting more.
Exactly.
And never appear on stage with children or animals. They'll always upstage you. You heard it from me, kid. Good luck. You'll make it out there.
Talk about wacky stuff. You put a tail from an airplane on the wall. You find a cigar store.
Right, like a bent trombone or something.
Exactly.
So where do you find this stuff? Where do you go?
Well,
and furthermore, where do you find the time? You're finding like a bra in your couch cushions, and just multiply that by like 1 million, and I think that's maybe what we would have had on our hands. So how many more of these until I get you to sing a few notes here for us?
A lot.
Now, just roll with me on this one. If I became mayor of Pittsburgh and I walked in your door and I said...
You heard it first here.
You are a Renaissance man, sir.